Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News. I'm German Abel, sitting in today. Yes, it's Saturday. It's the final Saturday of January. Imagine, just last week we had Carnival and we were celebrating New Year's and all of that. Yes, yeah. It was that time of year, it's that month. As people say, it's one of the hardest months of the year, where it's just not finishing, But we're already at the last Saturday of January. Yeah. Yes. Time is definitely flying. If you don't look, we'll be celebrating another carnival again. Yeah, sure, we'll be celebrating carnival again soon. Nevertheless, it's Saturday. It's a very, very busy Saturday in downtown Bastia. People are out and about doing their usual Saturday shopping and all of that. Yes. But yes, everyone is in downtown Basel doing their Saturday shopping. Shout out to those who are doing their Saturday cleaning as well, yes. I'll be keeping your company for the next 2.5 hours thereabout. Yes, we take a break for the midday news and then we'll be back at 12:30 or in the vicinity of 12:30, 12:45 thereabout. But it's a busy day here, nice bright sunny day. Cruise ships are in, Port Zante is buzzing again with people. And it was a busy news week here in St. Kitts and Nevis, in the Caribbean and across the world. Yes, some of the major stories this week, Culturama, had their press conference. They launched a bit. Yeah, that's a lot of it, Fire chief dispelled rumors that St. Kitts and Nevis, that the fire service turns up at locations. And we actually had the deputy fire chief on last week with my co-host, Miss Yolanda Weeks. So we had Mr. Timothy Martin on last week, and he, also dispelled the rumors. Then across the region, we saw, the launch of a cruise vessel. Well, not a cruise vessel, but the other territories are now coming on board to, I think it's Caribbean Connect or something like that, or Connect Caribbean. That's going to be connecting the Caribbean region in terms of movements. Yes, that's a new initiative that's coming on board. And internationally, a lot is happening over there internationally. I don't know where to start. We have the ongoing war in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia, the Hamas and Israel situation, the continued fighting along the Red Sea, which is going to be affecting the food supplies and the supply chains. That's something that we all must keep watch of. Yeah, that we must all keep watch of, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect our bottom line here in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the wider Caribbean region. So, with that being said, we also heard yesterday the International Court of Justice, which is an arm of the United Nations, it handed down a preliminary judgment which basically spoke to telling Israel, listen, you guys can continue fighting, but just minimize the casualties and the civilians there. We also saw the United States Treasury Department sanctioning several members of the Houthi rebels, which they have designated a terrorist group, because they have been attacking the commercial vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, which is going to be affecting our food supply and the supply chain. And also, the United States has sent a strong warning to Nicolas Maduro, because they've been saying that he has been arresting, or he's been pushing for the arrest of journalists, civil society members of civil society groups, and others down there. So it's a lot that has been happening in the world of news across St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean and the world over. So that's most of what we've been following here in St. Kitts and Nevis and in the news. So, but as I say, I'm German Abel sitting in today, and when I'm in the hot seat, I like to go beyond the talk of politics and go deeper into the issue or issues that will affect and impact people here in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the wider Caribbean region. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I should note it's also an open line today. We were hoping to get the farmers in today, but we were not lucky enough to get them in. Yeah, so we wanted to discuss agriculture and the impact of agriculture on St. Kitts and Nevis. We're in 2024. We know we've been pushing the 25 by 25 agenda, and we're the importance of us ensuring that we are food sustainable. That's one thing, but also how do we get our farmers, our co-ops, and our vendors to benefit significantly from this entire discussion of agriculture. But where I want to start today, I want to start with the tourism sector and hear a bit from the Minister of Tourism, who recently, had an engagement with the media. She took some questions. She fielded some questions from reporters. I want to get from you, the public and the listeners, how can we continue to improve on the existing product within the tourism sector rather? We have, and while I was coming in, we see a lot of people are now branching out in the tourism sector rather, in terms of offering walking tours and other initiatives, which is good and we all commend. So how do we improve on the existing tourism product that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis? And how do we work to alleviate the challenges of the interregional challenges that we have? I know this week, as I mentioned in one of the stories that we were following, and you heard a bit of it in the news, is and I'm going to play the news piece from earlier this week, how do we work to better that, and how St. Kitts and Nevis can play its part in connectivity issues? I know one of the challenges that we have, or had, and is still having, is with one of the airlines. I'm not going to call it airline there, but one of the airlines, and we're going to hear a bit from the minister about all of these issues. So how do we better connect all of this to make our tourism product, at least here in St. Kitts and Nevis, one of the best that we can definitely be able to boast and see more benefits, because it's one of the pillars of our economic sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis. This week we have the arrival of the Icons of the Sea, its first stop since it started to take on passengers. So this is its inaugural voyage in terms of paying customers, and it's going to be stopping over here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we're going to be welcoming the arrival of that vessel, which I think is either the 30th. Yes, it's going to be arriving on the 30th. And we will see, there will be a ceremony on Port Zante to recognize the arrival and its inaugural voyage and inaugural stopover here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
People make the world go round. People make the world go round. People make the world go round. People make the world go round.
So the question is, how do we better the tourism product here in St. Kitts and Nevis, not only for cruise tourists, but the stopover visitors as well?
People make the world go round.
So we're going to hear a bit from the tourism minister now on what's happening in the tourism sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis. As again, as I said, she was fielding questions from reporters at a recent engagement, a side event. Well, yes, the interviews were a side event that the media decided to hold with the minister, and she graciously decided to answer all of the questions that were asked.
Okay, moving along, we have the world's largest ship expected to come. How is this going to be boosting the tourism when you see a ship like this being docking here in St. Kitts?
Right. We are actually excited. She sets sail on the 27th, and her first stop is actually here in St. Kitts on the 30th. So we are ecstatic, as a matter of fact, and we are currently making our plans to welcome them. We have about 30 minutes for the arrival ceremony. We're hoping to involve some members of the public, possibly students, as much as possible. We do know that COVID is on the rise, and so we need to also take that into account. We've had a number of passengers, not to alarm persons, but we have a number of passengers who've had to be removed from the ships as well and given care at our local hospital as well. So it's a reality that we have to face head on. We can't close down the industry like we did in 2020. So the ceremony takes into account all those things in terms of exposing passengers and even locals. So at the arrival terminal, I think they're docking at Pier 2, so it will be at that pier.
Okay, and you spoke about the whole COVID issue. Do you suspect that that's what's been circulating in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, I can't say, and I will not dare say, but I know in the US they recently declared a strain of COVID, and I suspect is the key word. I suspect that's what's happening. Passengers have been removed from 2 ships last week and provided care at our hospital. So,
as we prepare and continue to rebound from COVID, are you concerned that this can impact our tourism, not only in St. Kitts, but the wider country?
We are already on the ball. We've prepared a policy. We are prepared in the industry, we are preparing our stakeholders and partners who work with us in cruise tourism as to what the protocols will be, so that it doesn't have to cause, a shutdown of the industry. Right. No, I'm not sure if they've approached us. Those matters are usually dealt with by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. The CEO hasn't raised it with me, neither has the chairperson of the board, so I'm not sure if any proposals were put forward to St. Kitts and Nevis as yet. However, if we're to be provided with the proposal once things are in order, I don't see us being opposed to it at all.
My question would be, how does interregional travel affect St. Kitts at this point?
Affect us how exactly? I think
in terms of Caribbean people coming into St. Kitts.
Oh, well, we've managed to improve accessibility with the introduction of Inter-Caribbean, notwithstanding the challenges we've been having, and Caribbean Airlines as well. I think we've improved travel amongst our region with direct flights into Barbados, and I know WINNMedia has just announced that they're adding some flights as well. I think it's about 7 per week, and as well as another carrier, forgive me, but I know we are improving as it relates to interregional travel, and the statistics have in fact shown that the Caribbean has taken its place second in line as the second biggest source market. So prior to all the airlift that was recently introduced, the second biggest source market was in fact Canada. So it's now back to the region.
Okay, on a different note, we saw what happened recently in the US with the 737 MAX 9. How safe is the aviation industry, especially those flights and planes coming into St. Kitts?
Relatively safe. We have the Civil Aviation Department that continues to work with regional, that's ECA, and ICAO, as well as the FAA. We continue to work to make sure that we continue to comply, and I think compliance is the key. Once we are compliant, we really should not have any real issues.
So do we have any MAX 9 coming to St. Kitts by chance? And did we have a return of the MAX 8 to St. Kitts and Nevis?
No.
In terms of airport, I know you have spoken in the past about plans for the airport expansion.
Right.
And with the increased flights coming in and increased passengers, obviously it is clear that we do need a larger terminal.
Obviously, even before the increased airlift, we have outgrown the footprint of the airport, and it's even more necessary now. What we've been doing though is coming up with interim solutions, just as the CUTE system, which is the where all airlines can use one system as opposed to having all these different windows for check-in, which is the CUTE system. We've also expanded the gates on the upstairs, and we've tried to work with airlines to stagger their times into the Federation as opposed to having everybody come in at one time. So JetBlue comes in 3 days, which is on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. So it's just working with what we have in the interim. But we are in the early stages of getting the modern terminal and underway.
Okay, and finally from me, is there any plans to update the entry forms into St. Kitts and Nevis? Because as a traveller, you can fly, it's becoming a nuisance.
Yeah, I can attest, but we work together with our sister agencies, which is the Immigration Department, that really falls under the Prime Minister's ministry, and we met as recent to the start of this season, which was in October, and we intend to meet once the season ends. We've had a very busy season, so we intend to meet to see how we can, simplify it. Working, of course, with Minister Maynard as well, where he's going to help to digitize it and all of that.
Ellison Tommy Thompson, his tenure is coming to an end. Where are we in terms of getting a replacement for him?
Oh, of course we are ahead with that. His contract expires shortly, and so the board has already, the board is doing what needs to be done.
And how would you sum up his tenure in St. Kitts?
I mean, he's made his mark. He is, in fact, the only CEO that I've worked with. I met him. He would have gotten into the position in January, and I got in August, and we worked well together. He was absolutely amazing, honestly. And you'd be hearing more about Mr. Thompson going forward. Without saying much, he's worked hard, but you'd be hearing more.
People make the world go
There you had it. There you had it. That was a bit from Tourism Minister Marsha Henderson, giving us an overview in terms of some of what's been going on in the tourism sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, one of the critical pillars of our economy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, so we always have to keep abreast with what's going on over there. You know, as I like to say, we have to keep our tourism friends very happy. Because once we keep them happy, you know, St. Kitts and Nevis is on a brighter path, right? You know, one of the things, and I know we've been discussing this for maybe like the last 6 months of the year, and, you know, it continues into 2024 as well. And we discussed some of it, I believe, yesterday when I was on Voices, and, you know, the topic still continues to come up. How we keep talking about crime and violence, and as we mentioned, tourism. You know, that is also impacting tourism. That is also impacting the way people perceive and the way people think of St. Kitts and Nevis and the way people view St. Kitts and Nevis. And I saw a video recently that I was disappointed with in terms of the way people were talking, and somebody said, you know, someone was, the person said they're not going to come back to St. Kitts. I saw a news report where two popular bloggers said they're not going to be returning to Antigua and Barbuda because of the way they were treated. Yeah, the way they were treated, right? You know, all of these things must be taken into consideration when we discuss the entire tourism product that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and what we want to portray to the world and the way we invite people into St. Kitts and Nevis. I know we generally do not discuss this particular connection and how we deal with the overall issue of the tourism sector, because I mean, I remember the years when there were lots of bad press, you know, but we have to live here in St. Kitts and Nevis, right? It's not it's not if you vote for one particular party or you don't vote for one particular party. At the end of the day, we all live in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we must be able to ensure that the product that we put out is the best product, because we have to be able to and be proud of where we are and who we are as people. And we come from the Caribbean, and we very much are dependent on getting the visitors to come into St. Kitts and Nevis. We'll take a break now, acknowledge our partners who make the program possible, and then we'll come back and continue with the discussion here on Inside the News.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And we are back with more Inside the News here on Win FM. I'm German Abel sitting in today. The phone lines are open. You can call 466-0989, 762-0989, and 662-0989. Yes. So we're discussing tourism and everything tourism today. So we have the world's largest ship coming to St. Kitts. Right. St. Kitts has become one of those top tourism destinations within the Caribbean region, especially for cruise tourism. And it continues to play a significant role in our economic development here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So as a question I keep throwing out today is, what more can we do to enhance our product here in St. Kitts and Nevis? Not just for cruise tourism, but also for stayover tourists. We have a number of activities throughout the year. Starting the year, it's kind of slow. We are pushing the sports tourism. We have West Indies. We have CPL, our franchise here. We have music festival. We have some smaller events throughout the year, and then we have our independence celebration. So, and then we cap that off at the end of the year with the carnival. And we know what happened during the last carnival. A lot of people came home and were celebrating, and we even saw the statistics from the carnival committee that they got from SCASPA and immigration in terms of the numbers that we saw, and they did indicate that we did see an uptick in arrivals during the last carnival period, and that's all good for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But how do we sustain that? How do we grow and build upon what we have? Someone was suggesting to me that we should begin to partner more with the small man and the private sector to build out more local tourism products that people can gravitate towards when they come, that we can sell and advertise on the cruise ships. When people come, they have activities to engage in. We have activities, but they prefer for us to build on some of what we have currently existing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I want you to listen quickly to some statistics that the Prime Minister presented when he was recently on another program, yes, and one of the government programs, and he was talking about the tourism sector, and he also touched a little bit on capital projects and all of that.
People make the world go round. People make the world go round. People make the world go round.
Sorry about that. So we're going to hear a bit from the Prime Minister regarding that, and we can continue with the discussion here on Inside the News.
People make the world go round. People make the world go round. People make the world go round.
Speak about the budget, Prime Minister. Talk to us a bit about the capital projects, some of them I should say, of course. We have mentioned at the top that the government is relying on tourism and construction to help to really stimulate the economy. So tell us a bit about what the government has planned in terms of capital projects for the fiscal year 2024.
Right, so I'll get straight into that. Let me clear the air on something because I think it is important. When we took over the government in 2022, I announced to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that we had a deficit. I want to make that clear. I want that to be considered a headline. That the Prime Minister, Dr. Joe, announced in 2022 that after looking at what we inherited, that we inherited a deficit in 2022.
And the breakdown of a deficit would be?
Yes. So the breakdown, the simple thing is you spend out more than you're taking. Okay, sometimes that happens, but when people seem to not remember what I said when I reported to the people, I think that it is clear that I reiterate that fact so that people can once again know that in 2022, I reported to the people as the Minister of Finance that we inherited a deficit budget. Notwithstanding, we of course began the process for 2023 and we are expecting economic growth in 2023 on the pathway to recovery. Now in 2024, we are expecting to get closer to where we were before the pandemic, and capital projects are a fundamental part of that, and tourism as well. As you can see, we have aggressively gone after expanding our tourism. And I have some numbers that I would like to share, Ian. I have it right here on my phone that I would like to share because I think it is critical that I share these numbers to show that our strategy actually worked, and really to commend the Honorable Marsha Henderson and her team for doing that significant work. Let me go through some numbers, if you permit me. In year 2022, amount of passengers by year, 113,154. That is how much we had in 2022. Remember that when we took over the government, that there were still restrictions. And on the 7th of August, the elections was the 5th, which was a Friday. My first official meeting after swearing in on the Saturday was 7th of August with the task force. And I asked them then for the statistics or the evidence with respect to COVID, and if there was scientific data to suggest that we should keep restrictions. I got them in that meeting that Sunday night from the CMO, and it showed that we could actually remove the restrictions and open up the country. That is what saved us in 2022. Otherwise, the deficit would have been worse. Remember that I also reported that to the people. So in 2022, 113,154 passengers by year. In 2023, 160,712, an increase of 47,558. This is because of how we invested to make sure. Amount of flights, a number of flights in 2022, 4,728. In 2023, 5,918, an increase of 1,190. These are significant increases because of our policies and approach to open the country and to aggressively put policies in place to get more people into St. Kitts, such as new flights into Caribbean Airlines, bringing in more international flights and so forth, and we can see the direct benefits. 47,000 is more than the population of St. Kitts. And that's just the increase by, not the total number. Because the total number is 160,712, and our population between St. Kitts and Nevis can fit into that a few times.
Yes.
In cruise ship, 2022, 490,267. 2023, 760,000. 354, an increase of 270,097 by over 250,000 increase. But if you look at the number, and then we had more cruise ships of 14. But the number of cruise ships is not as important as the number of persons who come, because you can have a lot of ships and they can come empty, but you can have few ships with a lot of people, which would have a greater impact on the economy. But nonetheless, we had both last year. Amount of passengers by sea, 2022, 8,478, 2023, 21,500, an increase of 13,022. The amount of vessels, or the number of vessels rather, 1,106 in 2022, 1,806 in 2023, an increase of 700. What we did on August 7th to open up the country was very important in terms of the recovery of the tourism product. Had we opened up the country earlier, these numbers would have been better, and we would not have suffered the deficit possibly that we suffered in 2022. It was a bad decision to shut down, to keep the restrictions unnecessarily, even when the scientific data. And as a result, the country lost millions of dollars, millions of dollars, and people who could have been working were not working because of that bad decision. So the numbers speaks for themselves, that we went out, we got new flights, JetBlue, which is having a tremendous impact. Right now, you know, hotel occupancy is up from even last year on the general. More people coming into St. Kitts as a result of that. We had expanded American Airlines, United, Air Canada, the British Airways, and in the Caribbean, intra-Caribbean travel, which is our second largest source of tourists. We had inter-Caribbean, Caribbean Airlines. WINNMedia now expanding their flights into St. Kitts Nevis. We have a number of regional airlines expanding into St. Kitts and Nevis. And as a result of that, we are seeing an increase from there. Even at the terminal, apart from the cruise ships, we are seeing more. We saw an increase, maybe the highest number of yachts we have ever seen, private yachts, could have been this season in our history. And I will make those numbers available when, as soon as possible. So if you plan to write something on it, you can have access to it. And as a result, we saw income from that area that we had not had before in this season. And we expect to expand on it even more. So as you can see, our strategy for tourism is working. I just met with the management of Marriott, and I'm told that they have presently right now, they have about 50, roughly 50 positions available that they can't fill. And I spoke to the Minister of Labor so that we can get aggressively to our people, because our people are searching jobs, our jobs are there. They're asking me if we can't fill them here, would it be possible to bring in people? I'm saying that we're going to do everything to get our people here to fill them. That is why we are expanding tourism, so that hotels can have tourists, and that will engender, of course, more jobs for our people. So basically, I would say that the strategy is working extremely well, Ian. You asked me about capital projects, because now we are getting to construction. This year, we're going to see a lot of construction taking place. Our housing revolution will take place. I guess we'll speak about that, but I'll speak in general about capital project. So the housing revolution, we intend to build a lot of houses. We have already a lot of people approved for houses. The second matter that we're going to look at in capital projects are road projects. We also have the hospital to be built this year, the $60 million, 50 to 60 million US dollars investment. We have the renegotiated and we launched solar plant, which is about 80 million US dollars. We just launched Hotel Indigo, which is about $100 million. And of course, the roads will be millions of dollars invested. We have a number of projects, but these are large projects, and just calculating that amount, you are easily talking upwards of more than $500 million EC dollars already. And there are a number of projects in the pipeline that we will be announcing going forward. And so therefore, we expect that the construction activity will be high this year. It is already picking up, and therefore we want our people who are in the construction field to really be ready to take up these jobs, because I don't want anybody to call me and say, Dr. Joe, we have jobs, but it seems like we might have to get people from overseas. Let us get our people here employed first, and then we can discuss who we can bring in if there is a need. But our people must be given preference in terms. And I'm saying to our people to take advantage of the opportunities, apply for these jobs, get into these jobs. And that is why we want to create the atmosphere and the environment for that. So that alone, talking about those projects I just outlined, if you add them up, you will see how much money is going to be directly injected into the economy. And we have another few projects, large projects we are going to launch this year. Right. So this is the year where projects will be launched. Now, over the last year, we were in the planning phase, because these large projects take time. Anybody who knows about construction, building, and so forth, know that these takes time to put plans together, to get approvals. You know, something we have to study, environmental impact study, this, that, the number or the critical things that have to go into making these large projects a reality. You know, they take time, but we are at the point now where we are rolling out.
Right. So, Prime Minister, of course, you mentioned the NHC homes, and let's focus a bit on those, the ones that are being constructed under, in partnership with the East Coast Housing Development Company. Now, you recently visited the model home being constructed in Connery. What was your impression of the process, where it is at this stage?
Well, my first impression is how strong the house is. I want to stress, I mean, the house has panels. These panels are steel mesh panels. They are steel come up between the panels. Then they are bridged with steel. And then all that steel, then it's filled with concrete. It's concrete, it's a concrete house that we had never had before. And when you go and you see the strength of the house, look at the house in Connery, it also looks very nice. It's not even painted yet, and it's taking shape. It's cheaper, stronger. The space in there is amazing, and you can easily build on top. It's hurricane resistant as well, and will be more resistant to earthquakes. So it is a good investment. And therefore, I was pleased to see where they reach. If you look at the normal time for construction of a house around here, and you look at that, you can't say it's taking longer. The reason why we have not launched all of the houses yet, we're going to get the model home. Our people can go there, go inside there, hit the wall, boot up on the wall to see, because I hear criticism about the strength, but it's the strongest house I've seen built. It's concrete and steel and panel mesh, panels that are steel meshed. And therefore, we want to give people that opportunity to go and see. They're saying no bats coming in your house. The chances of leakage are going to be extremely low. Hurricane resistant, easy to protect from hurricanes in terms of getting prepared and so forth. And when you get your children and they grow up, in the future, you can easily go up top and put on another 2-bedroom if you wish. And therefore, it gives the opportunity for expansion. So I'm very pleased, Ian. I'm very, very pleased. And I encourage SKNS to go and visit and ask the questions and bring the homes closer to any news agency or any journalist. They should go and visit the home and then report back to the people. So I see a lot of speculation out there, but I am very pleased with the quality of the homes, of the model homes that I've seen.
And of course, it's a new process in terms of the construction method, and so you would have engaged with the contractors who are building the model homes as well. What's your feedback in your discussion with them? What did they have to say about the process?
So two things would have taken place, and I want to congratulate NHC. When the first model came out, they brought the people to see them. The people said they wanted larger rooms. That is why there was a delay. Because remember, anybody who is in construction and so forth knows, if you change 1 foot anywhere on a building, everything changes. And so we had to change the rooms from 10 by 10 to 12 by 12, I think they are now. They are large rooms. And therefore, just that changing means the floor plan is going to change, the roof plan is going to change. You have a lot of changes taking place. So we had to go back to the drawing board, change the plans. Otherwise, these houses would have been done since last year. So let us remember that. And so the other thing that NHC did was to bring the contractors in, because there was a lot of speculation about, of course it's a new thing, and people should have questions. It is understood, and NHC should answer people's questions and take the public seriously, which I want to applaud NHC for. Applaud the Minister, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, and the team at NHC, the board.
People make the world go
And there you had it. There you had it. That was a bit of the Prime Minister giving statistics about cruise arrival, passenger arrivals, and the benefits of the tourism sector locally, and the fact that we are expanding airlift into St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes. So phone lines are open 4660989, 7620989, and 6620989. We're focusing our attention on the tourism sector today. Yes, one of the key pillars of the St. Kitts and Nevis economy. How can we better the existing product that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis? And where do you think we can go from here in terms of more private sector led or private sector driven initiatives that can further enhance what we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis? And we go to the phone lines and hear from this caller. Caller, good morning. Good morning, I can hear you now.
Oh, yeah. These phones are, rain and flow. Landline don't go together. Good morning to all the listeners at home and abroad. Good morning, Mr. Abel. And you Huey there with you too?
No, I'm here alone today.
Oh, were you playing something?
Yeah. Yes, I was playing a clip from the Prime Minister, just giving some numbers from the tourism sector, and we went a little bit over and also.
Well, I wish the houses were, but you can't make statement until they are tested. Because if you would know, these houses that the Venezuelan built, they were also built with the same kind of claim. Labor just call them chicken wire house. When they were built, those were the same claims they were making, until hurricane, I think it was Lenny. Lenny came from the west to the east and almost clean out up New Road. We had a lot of they call them palm houses and all across, So companies make claim. But until they're tested, you're not sure, so you cannot quite affirm. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, until you get an earthquake to shake them up. And you get a hurricane to test them. And this thing about concrete house roofs. After they leak, unless they're covered over. Anguilla had the same problem with the hurricane. So most of the houses had concrete roofs that didn't save them from the hurricane, and even here. So maybe they should make sure that these roofs can withstand the heat, because the heat just caused them to shrink and then flood. Now to the tourism thing, I must compliment them for what they're doing. I listened to the radio and he was saying for Bahamas, they've had over 8 million visitors. You know that?
Well, the Bahamas is a further. Yes, I was saying the Bahamas is a more developed, established marketplace for tourism than St. Kitts and Nevis. it has more islands that it gives more flavor
Right.
to an options.
I am
as well.
coming to St. Kitts. I don't expect us to get 8 million. But we are not utilizing Nevis to increase the numbers. The large ships coming to St. Kitts and the taxi operators complain about, now we are not enough. Something should be done to ensure that the overflow goes to Nevis. Or at least, since they cannot get the large ships, they should make there maybe a yacht port where they get enough yachts. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I don't make no sense saying it's got a million and Nevis got 200,000. I know that's not the number. But we're not fully utilizing our island, our country. Another thing with the hotels, often too many of them depend on the government or the tourism authority to advertise for them. What about convention? Like now, so in the U.S. and those cold countries, companies organize conventions. A lot of them got to Jamaica and Barbados and so. What are our hotels doing to attract them? Do we have the facilities for convention? Are the hotels built in such a way that they can accommodate large conventions? What do you think about that?
That's a really good point that you raised there, because
That's a what?
I was saying that's a really good point that you raised.
Yeah, 'cause I have been, look, when I used to work as a civil servant planning unit, most of the workshops took place in Antigua, Barbados, Most time we had to travel out to go to workshops. CDB workshop, man, Barbados just make sure that they get them. I think sometimes we're too laid back, we're waiting for the boat to come, the plane to come. We have got to diversify, as we say. CDB advertising workshop, IMF advertising workshop in the Caribbean. Get the head start and advertise. Get the hotels to prepare themselves, because from the impression I get, we still have a lot of empty rooms. Let me say excess rooms. And again, if we're really serious about getting more people coming by here, we could take off this lot of tax, 100 US and all of those things here. We got to do something, You say, oh, well, we got to pay for the airport. We have to pay for the airport. But the airport will be there. You got to find some way, because the airline's not making the tickets cheaper. Therefore, you as a country should be offering incentives. You can make up the difference from the CBI. Do something to make it coming here more attractive. So when I hear the price to travel, unless you're going on business, you're not moving, all the planes will come. Lear could come. Caribbean Airlines with these high prices, and then right coming in behind them is American Airlines and so. They're cheaper than them. We got to do something to get our tourism thing up. And our people, our local people have got to come up with ideas. Go online, we complain about the boat selling. Any student, you could go up to the IT center, get somebody, even CFBC, to design a website for you where you can sell tours. So you're not stuck. You don't wait until the boat come in and you see canned tours and they put in the bus and the railway and one or two. As many as possible, and they join association. Let the associations also run their website and sell tours. So we've got to be more innovative, more creative. All right then.
Okay, just one question before you go, Ms. Henry. In terms of products itself, do you think that, I know you talk about tours and the websites and all of that, but do you think we have enough offerings on St. Kitts and Nevis or we need to have more in order to attract people to St. Kitts and Nevis?
No. I said no. Look, I remember one time I went to Barbados, right? And a CDB workshop. And they took us on a tour. And people got things like, we called bush tea, garden. So you on your own, another said one or two farms take tours. These are things we could do. We could even offer to take people fishing. We have these water taxis. You know, if they don't have the appropriate insurance, help them too. Because people say, oh, you know, and they can't carry so many, but they could make so many trips. So I think our people missing it. This lady, Annie, her name was Annie, whatever. She used to have our walking tours. Do you see anybody doing it now?
Well, actually, that's what I was saying early in the program. I saw it this morning when I was coming in. There was actually a walking tour in St. Kitts.
And there's a lot to see in Bastille. I mean, and look at Old Road. Old Road was the first English capital. Some people don't, that's a Sandy Point, but not Sandy Point, Old Road. You could still see some of the stones, you know. There are people who take tours, who come on ships, who are interested in the traditional architecture. And what you train your people to narrate the history and show it off. I recall when I studied in Jamaica, I found it so interesting. Women used to. You have you been to Jamaica?
Not yet.
Oh well, you should go there. Jamaica is something to see. Talking about town, because most of the tourism take place outside of Kingston. But these women would have a basket, a flat basket, and they would have fruits in it with flowers on top. You see, look how we don't have the monkey business.
Uh-huh.
You see them walking around with this lovely flat kind of basket, having banana, whatever kind of fruits, with some flowers on top, and they dress gaily. We don't do it. I think we got too much pride. We have life too easy. We have life too easy. What about our craftsmen? What about our craftsmen? If you go down to Dunn's River, you would have heard about Dunn's River.
Yes.
A lot of rastas down there. They have craft, wood craft, leather craft. When we used to buy our shoes, what we call joggers or sandals, they are made and sold like in Harpetry, leather works. All of these, we're killing cattle every week. What happened to the leather? What happened to the leather? We could make leather products. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
We slaughter sheep. What happened to the sheepskin? I mean, there are so many things that we could actually do to make our tourism more attractive, more involved. Somebody might want to see how you make leather bags. We have craft house. I don't know exactly quite what goes on up there now. But these are things, people could get up and do things for themselves, you know. Do things for themselves. People outside are attracted. Sometimes the things that you see other countries selling. I remember I was in St. Vincent and along the main road here. And in Grenada, they got all kind of spice in a little thing, yeah? No, nothing elaborate. They got some jam and they got some nutmeg and maybe some black in a little kind of sack. Nobody got to tell you get up and do it. There are things that we can do, but you see, we like to get with $1,000, with $500. So you know, you don't think that those are things that we could do, and they're not very costly.
You are. What you're saying there makes a lot of sense, because when we were in Dominica recently, when I was in Dominica doing some work, I was surprised because it took us along a particular river, and there was actually a craft location. It's a big deal down in Dominica, and what you're saying there makes a lot of sense, Miss Henry.
Yeah, you know, but even Carter does pottery, right? We'll make it worse. Carter does pottery. The other people could do the same thing, you know, and have demonstration when tourists come. You not only sell, but you demonstrate. There's so many things that we could do, you hear me? So many things, and a lot of the retirees, well, I retire, but I can't see, but I could run my mouth. But now I'm serious. We are falling behind. I went in Trinidad and in Bahamas. There's a craft market, you know, in Bahamas downtown, right, Nassau?
Yes.
Right next to the port. What we call the port?
Yeah.
big kind of shed, like something like a factory shed. And in there, you see the women making the straw bags and the different things and so. Where you see that here? Where do you see that? Where do you see that? Yes, I see it in Trinidad too. The hotel we were staying in was right next door to a craft market. I don't mean that little chuck-up thing that around there, you know. In Kingston, there's one. And the people so trained that when you're going, oh, you know, you're from the islands, we're one of us. You know, them kind of smart talk. And they give you a discount. All of those kind of things. So we have people trying in a small way, but if they get groups, even villages, community can do stuff, you know. They can do stuff, but somebody really need to motivate our people. Take some of them abroad, let them see. Take them abroad, so carry them Trinidad, carry them in Grenada. They got a little spice thing, a little basket, you know. But just a look at that there, you know. You think we're wasting time. All right then, got the phone.
All right.
I don't know if you could hear me, but...
Yeah, I can hear you, but yeah, we're
You
just
could
about
hear
on
me.
news time, so thanks, Miss Henry.
People make the world go
Yes, so that was our first caller giving us an insight in terms of her views on the current tourism sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, she did acknowledge that there are a lot of good happening here, but you know, more work can be done to achieve and get more people involved in the sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis, especially in terms of what we have to offer here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We'll acknowledge our partners TDC, Carib Brewery, and then we'll come right back.
Services, we're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with it all. TDC Financial Services, we are strong. TDC Financial Services, this is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
Yes, so there you had it. That was our caller giving us, some insights in terms of her perspective on the current trajectory of the tourism sector. But we have to take a break now, and then we'll come right back, and then we'll continue with the program here on Win FM.
Found the sound. 98.9 Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com. When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Delisle Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
With the WINNFM Midday News, I am Kevon Brown. Our top stories: Director of Health Institution updates public on renovations at JNF. Opposition MP in Guyana comments on what he considers insufficient spending on defense. Cybercrime on the rise in Trinidad and Tobago, according to National Security Minister at Regional Cybercrime Security Workshop. Internationally, Donald Trump says he will appeal $83 million defamation penalty. Now the details. Ongoing renovations are underway across various areas at the Joseph France General Hospital. The hospital will also have a new 128-slide CT scan machine installed and the construction of housing for a modern MRI. The government has also embarked on transforming some areas in the back of the hospital: the corridors, the roofing, the morgue, and the grounds. The roof is expected to be tackled during the first quarter of 2024, and the private ward will be reopened. Dr. Jensen Morton, Director of Health Institutions in the Ministry of Health, updated the public on the work done on the morgue during the January 22nd broadcast of Healthwise.
One of the projects that is ongoing at the hospital, this one we're at the very back of the hospital and we are by the morgue. So there were quite a few areas in the hospital that needed a bit of work done because the staff, they were operating in some suboptimal conditions, and we're trying to see how we could make it not only comfortable for them but more efficient with regards to how work is done, how work is churned out, and how everything basically is done at the hospital in accordance with accreditation guidelines. So in collaboration with Public Works, the morgue of the hospital, as well as the immediately adjacent areas, they're getting their roofs redone, and we're also doing some aspects of remodeling. When it is complete, it would be possible now for us to do our autopsies on our cadavers in a lot more comfort. We'll also be able to get them done with more efficiency, and some of the issues that they were plagued with before, including aspects of leaks, aspects of poor lighting, and other things, all of those things are going to be addressed by the time we're finished with this part of the project. So we're supporting this project here, and we would like you to stay tuned because we will be continuously upgrading things in the Ministry of Health and in the hospital on a regular basis. So thank you.
In regional news, opposition MP in Guyana comments on what he considers insufficient spending on defense, Guyana News Source reports.
As the curtains came down on the national budget debates, the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, hammered the government over its failure to prioritize defense and security in the context of the ongoing threat to the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity from Venezuela. As he addressed the National Assembly this afternoon, the opposition leader questioned the rationale behind the government's failure to have an integrated defense and security strategy, which prioritizes the protection of Guyana's territorial integrity and the threats from Venezuela. He said the issue should have been a priority one in the budget.
One would have expected that spending on the following matters would have merited a dedicated section in the budget speech. A stronger military, enhanced diplomatic capability, more robust border protection, special programs for border communities, and a Venezuelan migrant resettlement policy, but not with the PPP shouting. But none of those that I have mentioned can be found in the budget. The budget leaves much to be desired when it comes to the protection of our territorial integrity.
Mr. Norton said the inattentiveness to the country's foreign policy has led to the downplay of diplomacy as the country's first line of defense, pointing to the delay in appointing ambassadors to Brazil and Venezuela. Falling short of naming the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, the opposition leader said his acceptance of a gift that degraded Guyana's ownership of the Essequibo is sufficient reason for his removal from the process that birthed out of the Argyll Declaration. According to Mr. Norton, the action of the CARICOM leader raises serious questions about his suitability to remain fairly engaged in a neutral way in the follow-up to the Argyll Declaration.
We wish to inform this House that we do not have confidence in his leadership. It is not in the interest of Guyana for that particular Prime Minister to be involved in the follow-up to the Argyll Declaration. Thank him for the service given before, but let him move on. Our confidence that the seriousness of the Essequibo is fully understood by this government is very low. This is a point of concern because the budget does not give clear enough signals that all appropriate actions will be taken to place our citizens in a stronger position to invest and enjoy life in the Cinderella County.
The opposition leader said Essequibo, being the largest region of the country, must be seen as a priority, noting that there must be a clear strategy to engage Guyanese in communities bordering Venezuela so that they are engaged, conscious, secured, trained, and committed to ensuring Essequibo continues to be part of Guyana.
We cannot just hope. We must use the resources of this country to achieve these noble objectives. Merely saying Guyana is we own will not allow us to achieve those objectives. We need a plan to ensure Essequibo continues to be we own.
And the opposition leader also made a case for there to be a well-designed and articulated economic diplomatic strategy aimed at promoting and protecting the country's territorial integrity and for the enhancement of the capabilities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to implement such a strategy. Throughout his contribution to the budget debates, the opposition leader raised a number of other issues, ranging from the budget being anti-poor, anti-working class, lopsided, and heavy on public infrastructure, to the need for there to be a people-centered development strategy and the effective management of the country's newfound wealth, oil and gas. But Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashley Singh, in closing off the debates this evening, told the National Assembly that the proof of the pudding is in the eating and that actions speak louder than words. He said over the last 5 days, the Assembly was regaled with nothing but cheap talk from the opposition, with lofty promises, though it failed to deliver on those promises during its time in office. The Finance Minister said unlike the APNU-AFC, the PPP government will deliver the projects and programs included in this year's $1.146 trillion budget.
Cybercrime on the rise in Trinidad and Tobago, according to National Security Minister at Regional Cybercrime Security Workshop. Triple T Live Online has the details.
There were dozens of successful cyber attacks in Trinidad and Tobago during the last year, according to National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines. Terry Brown Campbell has the story.
Speaking at the opening ceremony of the TNT Cybercrime Cybersecurity Sensitization Workshop on Friday, Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines said cybercrime is on the rise.
Over the past 5 years, 2019 to 2023, for greater specificity, the national cybersecurity landscape has seen a significant increase in cybersecurity incidents, which have affected various sectors.
Minister Hines shared some statistics.
During this period, there were 205 successful cyber attacks reported to the Trinidad and Tobago Cybersecurity Incident Response or Report Team in the Ministry of National Security, 52 of which happened in 2023. This increase is in keeping with the global incident trends and the prominence of cybersecurity as an area of national security concern.
The minister noted during COVID-19, with the push to allow people to work from home, there was a 125% increase.
Efforts are being made and resources are being expended to ensure that this country's cybersecurity position is more robust, more resilient. We have been working with our regional and international partners to review our national cybersecurity strategy.
The TNT Cybercrime Cybersecurity Sensitization Workshop will take place on Friday, January 26th and Monday, January 29th. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
The European Union is working with Trinidad and Tobago and other nations in the region to fight cybercrime and lighten cybersecurity. This from the European Union's ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Peter Cavendish. Terry Ann Brown Campbell has the story.
Tools are being rolled out by the European Union and the Implementation Agency for Crime and Security to fight cybercrime, according to the European Union's ambassador to TNT, Peter Cavendish.
We're looking forward to the acquisition of the Digital Forensic Management Platform, the DFMP, to be installed at Impact's Regional Intelligence Fusion Centre. I'm advised it is to be operational anytime soon. This platform will help improve sector intelligence and collaboration across the region, an essential precondition to effectively fight cybercrime above and beyond national borders.
Mr. Cavendish highlighted another instrument to combat high-tech crime.
El Pacto is the Europe and Latin America Programme for Assistance Against Transnational Organised Crime. From this month, El Pacto is now open to the Caribbean and Central American countries, and we are hoping to work with the authorities in the very near future to bring funding to areas where there will be benefit not only to Trinidad and Tobago, but also to other countries in the region and to European countries.
He shared more details on how this new tool would operate.
El Pacto is an international cooperation program that seeks to contribute to security and justice by supporting the fight against transnational organized crime. It can intervene all across the paradigm, from the policing to the judiciary to the penitentiary. It is a global tool and it has enormous potential that we hope to exploit fully.
Mr. Cavendish was one of the speakers who addressed the start of a two-day workshop on cybercrime and security in Trinidad and Tobago. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
We now bring you these international reports.
Donald Trump says he'll appeal against a court order to pay $83 million in damages to a woman he defamed. E. Jean Carroll had claimed the former U.S. president had destroyed her reputation by saying she'd lied about him sexually assaulting her in the 1990s. She said the ruling was a great victory for every woman. Neda Taufik reports from New York.
E. Jean Carroll has now taken on Donald Trump twice in court, both times emerging victorious. Last May, he was found liable for sexual abuse and defamation and ordered to pay her $5 million in damages. This second defamation trial looks set to cost him far more, $83 million. Donald Trump was not present when the verdict was read. And earlier, he stormed out of court when E. Jean Carroll's lawyer was delivering her closing statement, arguing that the former president acted as if the law didn't apply to him. Afterward, he slammed the verdict on social media as absolutely ridiculous and a politically motivated witch hunt directed by President Biden.
We will immediately appeal. We will set aside that ridiculous jury. And I just want to remind you all of one thing. I will continue with President Trump to fight for everybody's First Amendment right to speak. Everybody's a right to defend themselves when they are wrongfully accused and to be able to say, I didn't do it.
Donald Trump has repeatedly denied raping the former advice columnist at a department store in the 90s. E. Jean Carroll's lawyers submitted as evidence videos and posts where Trump continued to defame her while the trial was taking place.
I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt.
The damages awarded to E. Jean Carroll were far more than the $24 million she asked for. It signals that the jury agreed with her lawyers that only a very large sum that would hurt Donald Trump financially would convince him to stop. In a statement, E. Jean Carroll described the verdict as a victory for every woman who stands up when she's been knocked down, and a huge defeat for every bully who's tried to keep a woman down. Donald Trump has plenty of other upcoming trials where he faces a total of 91 felony counts and the threat of jail time. But so far, it hasn't dented his chances of becoming the Republican presidential nominee. Quite the opposite. It's energized his base. Neda Tawfiq, BBC News, New York.
Well, let's get some analysis on this now and go to Laurie Laird in London. She's a US political and economic commentator. Laurie, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. I want to start by asking how damaging this court order will be for Mr. Trump, especially with moderate voters.
Essentially, how damaging are the damages? And I will say, probably not at all. As we heard in that excellent report, this will only energize Donald Trump's base. Now, this is something we have been saying as some of these legal battles have unfolded. This is particularly true. Donald Trump may be a native son of New York. He is not popular there, and I suspect that his legal team they've already announced their intention to appeal, but I think one of the things that they will say is the difficulty of finding a balanced jury in a place like New York City, which is overwhelmingly Democratic. I think this will be part of the appeal, and I think it also feeds the narrative that Donald Trump has really amplified, which is, this is a witch hunt. I am not popular in certain places. The legal system is being turned against me. It's being weaponized. This will help that narrative without a doubt.
So does it matter if he continues to have verdicts or decisions going against him, especially if they're punitive monetary damages that he has to then pay?
And the damages are very high. Look, this is so much higher than what the plaintiff was asking for. And biggest, as you say, the biggest section was punitive damages, $65 million. I think there are questions over whether Donald Trump can get his hands on that kind of money, aside from campaign money. A lot of his money is tied up in assets. But will this deter him? Probably not. Again, I think this will energize him. Now, you mentioned moderate voters. I think the big question is whether those moderate voters, and there aren't as many of them in the U.S. as there have been in decades past. I think most voters have really started to identify in the U.S. with one camp or the other. This is something that we talked about with the New Hampshire primaries, where there are a large number of moderate voters. New Hampshire is not like the rest of the country. They tended not to break for Donald Trump. But I do not think these moderate voters are going to be a huge factor going forward. I think that the problems that the Democrats may have is trying to get moderate voters to get out at the polls. I think that many voters have been turned off by the political process altogether.
So Donald Trump's position is that all of these cases are a witch hunt. So what's the response from the government and the Democratic Party? How do they respond to that allegation from the former president?
Well, I mean, the Democratic Party is in a difficult situation because any sort of vigorous response to that simply fans that narrative that the democratically controlled system, or at least the Democratic administration, is rigged against Donald Trump. But I think that you are raising a very, very good question. Is Donald Trump has some momentum here, at least amongst his voters. We talk a lot about Donald Trump's base. It's not a majority of the country, but it certainly is a very enthusiastic minority of the country. How do the Democrats handle this now that I think we can assume Donald Trump is the Republican nominee. We're looking toward November. How do the Democrats campaign? What are some of the themes they can touch upon? Last week, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and their spouses were in Northern Virginia. They did a big rally where abortion rights were the big theme. I think that is fertile territory for the Democrats. Expect to see that come up a lot. But the Democrats are going to have to come up with some other narratives, particularly on immigration. Voters tell the pollsters that they're concerned about immigration. It was a big issue in New Hampshire, despite the fact that New Hampshire is 2,600 miles from the Mexican border. The Democrats are vulnerable there.
At the White House, an attempt to use the verdict from the International Court of Justice as a kind of vindication.
We simply have said consistently we find that claim is unfounded. And, the court also did not find Israel guilty of genocide.
A final decision on whether this is genocide is likely years away, but the court did order Israel to avoid civilian casualties and to allow more aid into the Gaza Strip. The U.S. says it has asked Israel to do both. But the bombing continues, the starvation spreading. If it continues, this will likely end up before the UN Security Council, which has the power to impose economic sanctions, ban the sale of weapons, or even authorize the use of force. But many experts believe the U.S. simply will not let that happen.
They really are not going to abandon Israel when it comes to Gaza. They will put pressure on them to behave more rationally, and I think they're going to start putting pressure on them soon to wind down the main part of the conflict, but they're not going to vote against them in the Security Council.
U.S. President Joe Biden did get involved into one aspect of the war on Gaza. He spoke on the phone with the Emir of Qatar and the President of Egypt. We were told they're discussing a potential deal for a ceasefire in exchange for some of the captives. Now, usually when the key players get involved, it could be an indication that something's getting close, but an official here says nothing is imminent. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Late Friday, after all day taking stock of the ICJ decision at The Hague, ambassadors from Arab countries gathered at the United Nations to discuss a key question: what next? After allowing the media to film the opening portion of the meeting, the rest was behind closed doors so talks could continue in private. Before the meeting, the Palestinian representative said now was the time to seize the moment.
If one to look at the provisional measures separately and collectively, it gives the clear message that in order to do all the things that they're asking for, you need a ceasefire for it to happen.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres issued a statement through his spokesperson acknowledging the ICJ ruling, but offering few insights on how he views the judgment.
Is the Secretary General disappointed that the ICJ did not call for a ceasefire?
The Secretary General is not here to do color commentating on decisions of the independent court of the UN. His position has been what it is. It's been very clear. What the Secretary General thinks and what he would like to see is an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
All eyes now turn to the Security Council. It seems likely that by the middle of next week, the Council will call for an open meeting to discuss the rulings by the ICJ. Then the question becomes, will Algeria, the Arab member of the Council, begin to circulate a draft resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire? Diplomatic sources are telling us all indications are pointing to exactly that. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations in New York.
There you go. Cursive is making a comeback in California. Awesome. In an era of computers and tablets, the skill has fallen out of fashion. but a new state law requires students to learn the old school style of handwriting.
Is there any trouble that you're having with any of them?
By the time they leave the 6th grade.
Yes, I love it. It's just fancy how to write, and it's just like fun to learn, like new letters.
During cursive, eraser's our best friend.
At Orangethorpe Elementary School in Fullerton, California, students are practicing the flowy penmanship. 6th grader Milo Chang says he thinks cursive is stretching his abilities.
And I really think it helps with like my handwriting too, just like print, because if you're doing something harder, basically if you're doing an easier version of that, you'll probably get better at the easier version too.
The new law was sponsored by California Assembly member Sharon Quirk Silva, a former elementary school teacher who said she was inspired to introduce the bill after a chance encounter with former Governor Jerry Brown in 2016.
Jerry Brown was the governor and invited a group of us to dinner. I happened to sit right next to him, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a teacher for elementary." And he said, "Right away, you need to bring back cursive writing."
Ready? Dead. Hand.
The bill turned law requires handwriting instruction for grades 1 through 6, including cursive in the appropriate grade levels, generally considered to be the 3rd grade and above. California's Common Core standards did technically still have cursive writing goals, but Quirk Silva said instruction was patchy.
The hope of the legislation is that by the time students leave 6th grade, they would be able to read and write it.
This, what do you think letter is that?
W.
Orangethorpe Elementary School teacher Pamela Keller says some of her students still need convincing.
A lot of my students will say, "Oh, it's too hard to write in cursive." And so we tell them, well, it's going to make you smarter. It's going to make some connections in your brain. It's going to help you move to the next level. And then just do it really light. And then they get excited because students want to be smarter. They want to learn. They want to be the top dog in the class. And so I think that's really exciting for them. I'm holding it gently and I'm letting it flow over the paper.
Experts say learning cursive boosts cognitive development, reading comprehension, and fine motor skills.
You're using different neural networks when you're doing cursive rather than printing.
Leslie Zaroya is a project director for reading language arts at the Los Angeles County Education Office. She says learning cursive provides childhood development benefits.
As you're creating the letter, you're thinking about what is the sound that letter makes and how does it connect to the next letter and what are those two sounds together.
Educators also say cursive can unlock a doorway to the past, giving students the ability to examine generations-old family letters or important historic documents.
We have, I told you, the Constitution in our library. It's handwritten in cursive. So if you can't read those pieces of history without somebody translating it for you, I find that to be kind of sad too. So I just want my students to have that choice, to be able to open up that world for them.
You were listening to the Midday News on WINNFM 98.9. The headlines: Director of Health Institution updates public on renovations at JNF. Opposition MP in Guyana comments on what he considers insufficient spending on defense. Cybercrime on the rise in Trinidad and Tobago, according to National Security Minister at Regional Cybercrime Security Workshop. Internationally, Donald Trump says he will appeal $83 million defamation penalty. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINNFM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, and Caribbean.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
When it comes to the important things in life, your health, your education, your choice of a life partner, and of course your insurance provider, only the best will do. Caribbean Alliance Insurance is the only insurance company in the Eastern Caribbean with an A excellent rating. We have a robust 3-tier reinsurance strategy that protects our policyholders from multiple catastrophes, even if they occur in quick succession. We spread our risks over 18 territories, ensuring minimal impact to individual territories when a disaster strikes. We provide an excellent claims experience. Claim settlement is usually between 24 to 48 hours. Our A excellent rating means that you are more secure with us. Contact us for motor, property, marine, public liability, employer's liability, and other policies. Dalil Walwyn, people you can trust. Local agent for Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow secured. Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM. People make the world go
And welcome back to Inside the News for today, Saturday, January 27th. It's the final Saturday or the final weekend of January. Yes, for many it was a long January. For some of us, yes. But nevertheless, we're here. We're discussing tourism-related matters. Yes, that's what we looked at in the first half of the program. It's an open mic. It's an open line today. We were supposed to have some guests, but, that did not work out today. So the program must continue. Yes. So it's an open line. You can share your thoughts. As usual, we go beyond discussing politics here on Inside the News, or at least when I'm in the hot seat. we go beyond discussing politics, because politics in and of itself can shape the decisions we make, but at the end of the day we have to find solutions to all our problems, and we can have a cordial debate to discuss issues and find solutions to those issues. Talking politics does not necessarily solve the problem or problems that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis, across the region, or the wider world. So finding solutions to adapt to the problems is what we are here to do. Yes, as we continue with the program, we have to acknowledge our partners who make the program possible, and then we will go full scale and continue with our discussions here on Inside the News.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Insurance Company Limited. We care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will. Guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. CDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less. People make the world go.
And we are back here on Inside the News. Yes, I'm Jeremy Neighbor sitting in today. It's a sunny day in downtown Bastille. Yes, it's a sunny day. A little windy. Yes, it's a little windy out there, so stay safe. And we have just about 2 cruise ships in the port today. And as we come back, we go to the phone lines and take this caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Abel.
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir, and yourself?
Yes. I listened to the program yesterday on Voices program, and you wanted to engage the public with something historic in certain right. You entertained a little conversation on the case that was brought by South Africa on Israel in the terms of the feasibility or the plausibility of genocide.
Yes.
And in all of the evidence that was collected by the UN team who would have gone into that area to really ascertain what would constitute genocide, emanating from the 1948 laws and, principles that guided it from the war in Germany. And yes, so Israel was found to allow, like medical supplies, to allow things that even in the ministry of the Senate or wherever the ministry is, our ministers, government ministers would have said. And there was a ruling in the 17 judges that sat. There was 16-1. I think there was a 15-2, 15-2, and so forth and so forth. With the lone lady, Julia, the Ugandan judge, in the 16-1 matter. Even the Israeli judge agreed on with his other colleague. And you put that out for discussion, but I was driving, I wasn't able, and the time elapsed. What are your take with the whole, because you brought it up for discussion, but we're inside this program is called Inside the News, right?
Yes, it is.
So I just wish to really extend it because I didn't get the opportunity to do so yesterday, and to ask you what are your take, because you wanted some feedback on it, because it's like, yes, we are here, we are in the islands, we are in the Caribbean, we are in St. Kitts and Nevis, but there are the things that are affecting us.
Well,
speaking of things that are affecting us, the war seems like it's jogging on and it's going towards other areas. And I think you did say about the Houthis' attack on some ships.
Commercial vessels, yes.
Yes, and even on an oil tanker, a British public registered oil tanker was hit probably yesterday. And that seems like it was a result of the Houthis down in Yemen deciding, man, there are some similarities with us here in Yemen and with what is going on in Gaza. And they, in their solidarity, decide that, well, we're going to initiate this because the Bab al-Mandab Strait.
Well, what we have been gathering, media on this part of the world, and, we depend a lot on factual information from our larger colleagues internationally and to an extent those in the US and Canada. What they've been saying and what the reports are, the Houthis are basically doing what they're doing in this sea, in the Red Sea and the Aden area, is basically to send a signal that, listen, we don't support what you guys are doing in Palestine, right? But my general idea for raising that particular, or those topics are, specifically, we here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we generally do not take world issues, or we don't really focus on world issues, right? What are the implications? And I keep saying this every time I'm on air. What are the implications for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis when it comes to these specific issues? One, the ongoing war has an issue because a lot of what we depend on are imported foods, and some of them, for example, the war with Ukraine and Russia, saw the wheat and grains and so forth, those prices began to skyrocket. That's one. Two, it has implications for oil coming from the east over to this side, right? We here in St. Kitts, we do not produce oil. A lot of our electrical bills and the gas prices are somewhat subsidized by the government, right? So, and the third point is the supply chain. We all saw what happened when we had COVID and the issues surrounding the supply chain. So it's to raise awareness that we need to begin to look and discuss these issues and the implications for us. The layman on the street might be asking the question, why should I care about if two people in the Middle East decide to bomb each other, right? But it has large implications beyond just the two of them fighting over there. So that was the sort of context that I was raising with these particular issues. Now, we saw that the Americans and the British are now defending the area where the commercial vessels are traversing, because they realize the bottom line is both sides of the world will begin to feel the crunch in their pockets. Food prices are already high, and then it's going to grow higher because of the ongoing war. So now, both sides, the Treasury Department in the United States and those and their counterparts in the UK decided to sanction 4 high-ranking officials of the Houthis.
Yeah, and we saw with the COVID and the freight rate went up sky high. I read articles about it went up probably 300% or what have you. Or that's just like a minimum. But we saw that, and anytime there was in certain parts of the world, we would be footing the bill in terms of our petrol price. That will go up.
Exactly.
And yes, even though,
well, go ahead.
Even though our ships coming our way would be affected, would be targeted, but we don't rely on ships going up to the Red Sea. Those commodities go further north into Europe, into the Mediterranean, and those Mediterranean countries like North Africa and, Europe, Southern Europe, and the likes. But ships that will be coming, let's say, from China or India, they will come and they might avoid it, depending on the distances that those drones that can travel, So the ships that coming across from Asia might avoid it because they will not have to go up to the Red Sea to come towards the west over here. But albeit it still would affect us in terms of the supply chain, It's interlinked with the supply chain is interlinked with our commodities that we might, the final product that we might receive over here. So it's very interesting that, now that the verdict has passed, that is phase 1. Because even though the verdict was passed, and I think South Africa really was going for, let's say, a total ceasefire. But in order for Israel and the supply, like medicine and so, to reach in Gaza, there will have to be a temporary ceasefire because you cannot have UN personnel trying to reach persons and bombs are still dropping. So therefore, that is it. Now China has gotten involved in the sense that President Biden is asking China to get involved to influence Iran maybe to talk to the Houthis about, man, you guys is messing up things, man, But then that is counterproductive because the U.S. and the U.K., they're dropping bombs on those people. But yet it was the U.S. and the U.K. bombs was dropping on them when Saudi Arabia was bombing them. And they was to come to a truce, and they're still together negotiating. And so Saudi Arabia has already told the U.S. not to do that. Because it's like you have a few ships in the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. And, the distance is 50 miles north, something got hit. You're going to try to send a ship or two, military ship or two, to aid and abet the ship that was gotten hit. And then 50 miles south or east, another ship gets hit, and then you have to try to go over there because they are stretched in terms of the amount of ship. Because France is not sending any, because France would be included in their ships getting hit. Because it's not now the ships of Israel that will go to Israel, is the Gulf of Aqaba. It's the British ship and the U.S. ships now that are targeted. As opposed to only the Israeli ships, the ships that was going to Israel was targeted. So the more countries get involved, and the shipping lane is like the sky with the flight, the plane in the sky. It's like on the ocean, there are ships all over the place, right? So negotiation. And not thinking that you're the big brother and you feel like you could just do things by bombing people. Because the Houthis, they're on some small boats, and I doubt if they're using those boats now. But their drones are as effective as those large ships that are in the Gulf of Aqaba, or the Gulf, the Bab al-Mandeb Strait,
Carlo,
the Gate of Tears.
Carlo, I'll give you 30 seconds because I have more calls coming in. You can call back in after, I'll think, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
Well, I appreciate the conversation, and I'll listen off here.
All right, thanks, Carlo. Okay, we just missed that other caller there. Yes, okay. We go back to the phone lines and hear from this caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's about your original question. I think you asked, what can we do to improve our tourism product? Initially, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the first thing we have to do is realize that it is a competitive industry. So, while it is good, yes, of course, we have to compare what has happened in the past and certainly look at the trends locally in terms of comparing yesterday with today. We also have to look at our neighbors, our main competitors, because I don't think we've reached the pre-COVID levels as yet, have we?
No, we're slowly inching up there.
Yeah, right. Of course, that should be our main aim to get there, but after getting there, to actually surpass and carry the trajectory forward even more. Because when we look at our competitors, they too are doing their utmost to get back to pre-COVID levels, as well as they are improving their product. You look at what's happening in Anguilla, for instance. They just opened a water park. That's a new attraction. They have several other projects going on there. St. Vincent is the same thing. I think the movie Pirates of the Caribbean was filmed there, and they're now turning the site into a theme park. They're doing port development, and you can go down the line. Everybody seems to be trying their utmost to improve their product, and we should be no different. Okay, I don't think we can just rely on what we've done in the past and the attractions that we've had in the past. Yes, we have a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Brimstone Hill. I mean, nothing in the region is as impressive, I think, except maybe the fort in Colombia, Cartagena. But we can't rely on just that alone. We can't rely on that and Caribel Batik and Black Rocks. Those are age-old attractions. No, there are lots of people who repeat cruises, and we need to provide more attractions for them, something new for them to see. You take a place like Disney World, for instance. Every time you go there, there's something new that you can go and spend your money on, so to speak. And we should be doing the same, I think. You know, trying to get not just walking tours and, island tours, and that's run-of-the-mill. Okay? We want new attractions. We want, maybe a new zip line from Sulphur Stone, a Sulphur Stone Lookout National Park somewhere up there, because you have great vistas from there. We need new sites to carry, especially repeat visitors too. Okay, I think a survey was done some time ago, and they found that for North Americans in particular, once they visit a place and they like it, they always return. It may seem strange to some people who think that they would want to see somewhere else new, but they develop an affinity for that place that they like, and they return expecting to see new developments, new places to go, and so on. And I think we should be catering more for that. And by now, I think we should have had a phase 2 of Port Zante to improve our port, not to mention the airport. I think you asked about that. We obviously need new facilities there. Again, our neighbors in the Eastern Caribbean are getting new airports. And so both the air and seaports need to be upgraded. Make them more welcoming and easier to actually go and stay and just improve the overall aesthetics of the place. And finally, I think our existing environment needs to be much improved. We do not have pristine beaches. The few beaches we have compared to our neighbors are not kept in a really pristine condition. That needs to change. We also need to improve these beaches, regardless of what they may say. The experience that most tourists want is still a nice white sand beach to relax on. That's the postcard picture of a tropical island. And so we should at least have one or two beaches that are that. That might involve getting in some sand from either our neighbors or further afield, like in Ghana, which have lots of sand, and we can use that to improve our beaches. And of course, generally speaking, I mean, you hear the comments all the time about the cleanliness of the environment. I mean, we by now we should have been in tip-top shape as far as that's concerned, because I mean, for ages, for decades now, solid waste have been rooting for that to happen. Okay, and we need a sewage system. Any modern country have a sewage system in the heart of town. That will improve the environment immensely. Okay, and of course, little things like dealing with the traffic in our main town, make it more pedestrian friendly. All those are things that we can do that would definitely improve our tourism product and our attraction. Okay, and finally, I noticed Antigua in particular have changed now, and they're home porting. We should have been able to do that as well. Okay, that we should go after that market as well as the yachting place. I mean, Christopher Harbour is underutilized, I think. Okay, so those are things I think we can do to improve, to make us more attractive as in the tourism market.
All right, thanks, caller. Yes, he made some valid points there, and we take his recommendations on board, and we go back to the phone lines and hear from this caller. Caller, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to our listeners. Greetings once more in Jesus' name. The only Savior of sinners from their sins and from hell. And the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first I would like to say that concerning the problems in the Middle East, that only could be solved by all the parties involved. In first, getting right with Jesus, and second, obeying the Bible. Other than that, they will not be able to solve the problems, and not just there, but we all over the world won't be able to solve our problems without that, without first getting right with Jesus and starting to obey the Bible. That's the only solution to all of us problems. And because that is not being done, that is why all over the world, including the Middle East, is having problems after problems after problems after problems, and we will not be able to solve them because we are not going in the right direction, and we are not depending on Jesus Christ and in obedience to his word to solve them. So it would always be problem after problem after problem, to our destruction and to our ruin. Anything else, it does an illusion and a delusion in our mind to think we can solve our problems any other how. So I just called in to say that, and to let us know the only way in how to solve our problem. That is in Jesus by obeying His word. Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, so we are discussing tourism-related matters here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are talking about how can we better improve our tourism product as we begin to get back to pre-pandemic levels. We have Icons of the Sea expected to dock here in St. Kitts and Nevis, well, at least in Bastia, on the 30th of this month. Yes, sometime this week. I don't have a calendar in front of me at the exact date, but I think that would be Wednesday. Nevertheless, it's going to be bringing just about 8,000 passengers, that is paid passengers, and probably another 1,500 to 2,000 crew members here at St. Kitts. St. Kitts and Nevis is actually the first stop for the vessel with actual paid customers. So yes, that's one thing that we have to take stock of and be happy about. But how can we improve our product here in St. Kitts and Nevis? It's already at a high standard, but what more can we do to ensure that we remain at the highest standards, one? And two, do you think we need to build and roll out and get the private sector more involved in terms of getting that tourism product to the level where it is? Okay, well, I guess I missed that caller. We'll acknowledge our partners and then we'll continue again with the discussions here on Inside the News.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WIN FM.
People make the world go. Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drugstore's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drugstore's curbside pickup service.
People make the world go
And we are back with Inside the News, and we go straight to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon.
Greetings, my brother.
Greetings.
Give thanks for taking our call and give thanks to information shared so far. You got any topic on the table?
Well, we are looking at, because we have the Icons of the Sea, which is the world's largest ship, making its first paid customer stopover in St. Kitts and Nevis this week, world's largest ship. You know, we're just taking a look at the tourism sector and how best we can improve what we have at the moment.
Okay. All right, well, tourism as it is, it's on a front to our dignity as a people, tourism as it is. We need to change up the tourism, the way it is, and I like the way it goes. But anyhow, once we're looking at improving and increasing what we have in the tourism thing. We need to maintain what we have already. We are lacking there. We are lacking in maintenance, keeping things as ought to be kept. And earlier caller spoke about our environment. Our environment spick and span. We should be able to keep our 68 and 36 spick and span. It is not like that, and it has been in that kind of condition for years, decades, as the brethren say. And, we need to do better than that, So we need to put that in place.
But caller,
okay.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Come on, no.
Okay, so I was going to ask you. You said keeping, and that's something that governments. I know the last administration, the prime minister at an event did say that we needed. He did not like the way Bastille was looking, and it needed some sprucing up, want of a better phrase, right? Yes. But as we look in Bastille in general, how do you think that we can maintain some of those iconic places that we have? Because when we look at places, maybe like a Jamaica or a Dominica, a Bahamas, and so forth, things are there that are iconic. How do you think that we can maintain that? As you said, maintenance is an issue. I mean, certain places you walk around, yes, there are garbage there are old, dilapidated buildings and so forth. What do you think that we can do to maintain and improve those?
What we can do, what we ought to do. What do you mean? Money is there to do it. We know what to be done. Just do it. It's just not being done. Yeah, maintenance and cleaning. And preventing too. Preventing the places from getting back to them stage there, and putting policies and legislation in place to stop the littering.
We lost that caller there. Yes, but he was basically reiterating the fact that in which a lot of people have been talking about reducing the littering and maintaining our infrastructure in Bastille. I know there's some discussions, because it was said publicly, that the government is considering getting and updating legislation to deal with dilapidated buildings and probably repossess them, or government taking control of those buildings, because they're becoming, and this might be a strong word to use, but they're becoming a nuisance, yes, and becoming an eyesore in Bastille as we continue to push our destination as a place to work and play as a major tourism destination here in the Caribbean region. So how best can we as people upgrade what we have, maintain what we have, and compete with the larger territories and more popular destinations for cruise visitors and stayover tourists? I know we, as I said in the first half of the program, we have been pushing a lot of sports tourism, for example. We talk about cricket. We have our own CPL franchise. People come in for those. We did not necessarily bid for games in the Cricket World Cup this time around, right? So we are seeing those sort of sports tourism benefits coming into St. Kitts and Nevis, right? We also have major international tennis events that are played here, where we have people from around the world come in, the players come in with their parents, their coaches. We're going to have the OECS championships, athletics. So how do we, spruce it up and make it a destination that we all want to go and want people to come? And one caller was making a point in terms of repeat visitors, because I've had friends from the US who love the destination and they keep coming back for more of St. Kitts and Nevis. How do we get them to maintain and return to St. Kitts and Nevis? We go back to the phone line. Caller, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. It's me again.
Yes.
And how are you this afternoon?
I am well. How are you?
Up, man. My God is able, you know.
Always.
Why you got an able God like mine, Yosef?
That's true.
No, I'll say something short about this Middle East story. Now, I don't understand a lot of the reasoning people use. If each side decide they're going to eliminate each other, will there ever be a solution? I mean, seriously. Hamas said they're going to wipe out the Jews, and the Jews going to wipe them out. Now, when you get in the middle, you get wiped out too.
But the question
so how
is...
do you moderate wipe out?
But the concern is, and I think this is where a lot of people are kind of iffy.
Hello?
Yes, you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I was saying the concern is that you're talking about a lot of people are calling for peace, but one side is being supplied with weapons and assistance and aid that's basically blowing away the other one. So that's where the question comes in: how do you get peace in the middle when someone is aiding the other
me,
one?
I don't understand. I was reading Psalm 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing, and the kings, everybody set themselves to wipe out one another? But we say, God will laugh, because the more joining is the longer this thing prolongs. And nobody seems to be holding Hamas also responsible for starting this last thing. It is totally looked over. Now, if they really want peace, shouldn't they be releasing the hostages by now?
It's a leverage game. I've come to recognize.
So if you're playing a leverage game, you expect to get like you're playing domino and thing you and so.
I think both sides need to once again come to the table and.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't have any side in the fight, All I do, I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Now, let me ask you a question. This place, I forget the name of it, man, where the Taiwanese built down in the country, just outside of Sandy Point. What's the name of it again?
The Eco Park?
Hello?
The Eco Park?
Yes. What part is it playing in our tourism activities?
I knew previously it was a destination an area that people can go to. I'm not sure right now, but if I'm to be, and I stand to be corrected for this, but I think the last time I heard in the news that it was going to be transformed into something else surrounding the proposals that government have for the...
Yeah, because I'll tell you something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, don't forget my interruption because the phone making more noise. But I have been down that area more than once. And I have seen the scenic train come down there and turn around there. But it doesn't seem organized to me for the passengers from the train to go into the place. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
I better talk a little louder.
I'm listening.
Look, Floyd, for listening, this phone is disturbing me. You hear me? I'm trying to hear. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It was set out nice architecture in the front, and they had all kind of crops and things and so. And as usual, you hand it over to government, and they run it down. Run it down. That to me is pivotal, When you think of the effort and the design, that should have been a major thing in the tourism activity. Not just driving past it and pointing on it. I don't think we really understand tourism, And what has become of the horse and the dog show, the racetrack? What has become of that? That was sold or closed. So are we really thinking about what we're doing? You have but the one up on the hill name? They said they have 100 varieties of mangoes. I mean, how many of the taxi are going to go off the track to go up there? I don't think sometimes we think about driving people around the island and that's it. No, taximen may not agree. But if you look at so many different places that they could go, take tourists there. Now, my good family a while ago, he was asking for them to put security down on his land, which leads to the Mount Layamiga trail, right? You know, nobody's supposed to have to tell them that. One time, some young enterprising fellas stuck up a rubber, something going to Brimstone Hill. Nobody should have to tell you that. You should have them on the trail itself. Because you're going way into the forest. Any one of them could go in there, hide in the bush, they know the way. You know? We like to react. I mean, I appreciate my family says he love the taxi men and the people them who are going on the hike to park on his agriculture plot. And he's now asking for protection. You don't think they should have thought about that? Huh? Waiting until somebody gets stuck up a hole up there. You know, sometimes I just say, how do we think? We only know to react. We could talk a good game, you know? And you're going to the country, some places, like the place coming out of Tabernacle, where they used to have a lot of almond trees, was the almond walk. Another place, again, when you leave Malin, you're going over, so you have these lovely trees. They die down one by one. Is there any replanting? And it used to look so pretty. You know? I can't hear so much of your response. But I'm just thinking of that we allow everything to run down.
Okay, so Ms. Henry, just quickly before I let you go, I want to ask you, there's this talk about maintenance, as the caller just alluded to, and the environment in Bastia. You know, we've heard complaints. What are your thoughts on that specifically?
Environment?
Yes, in terms of what more we could do to maintain the environment and maintain our infrastructure.
I'll tell you what more we can do. I remember the very first time I went to, not the second time I went to Barbados. We went down by this school where it is in a kind of thing where they do fisheries and whatnot. Students from a Canadian thing. And all the people sweeping the road, you know. I say, what is this? Now, in our place, you sweep in the morning and that's it. I am telling you, they have the cleaners sweeping the street during the day. Now, if we know, for example, certain parts of Bastia is likely to be littered, you could have people cleaning it in the day. Now, you may say, oh, we're encouraging people to think, but we are also encouraging our people. When you begin to observe, and the communities to which people pass, they have a responsibility to keep the place clean too, you know. You don't think so?
Yes.
I mean, I tell you, look, my daughter lived in an area. I'm telling you this, because I stayed there with her. The people fix the road themselves. Sometimes when they hear, oh, the road got pothole and the road, what? I say, well, wait. Well, they don't think they have some kind of obligation to fix it. I'm telling you, they fix the government road. Fix it. One of them, I think, was the work thing. They got the roller. Another thing again, they cut the siding. Nobody paying them, you know. They say, well, this week we're going to cut the grass, and they come over and cut my daughter's lawn and the back of the yard. I'm telling you. So if we as a people, you live in an area and you see things, how come the area cannot organize cleaning? Newtown people can't clean Newtown. Irish Town people can't clean Irish Town. We have a lot of youth groups, church groups, clean the place. Sometimes we're waiting for the people to come to clean. Even the taximen while I'm at it. You're driving going over the peninsula. And these trees also hanging over the wood. You don't think one day when no shipping, all of you could go over there with a machete and chop them down? Or we say, well, they're on the man land. They're on the man land, but they're not disturbing the man, they're disturbing you. So often, All we need is community development and a pride. We lack pride in our area. People selling in basket. How could you be selling around your dirty? You don't think before you start to sell, you could clean up too? I don't think about, even in with the area where they sell the food. You selling by drain, selling by drain. And you have these food places again. Food places, I recall, well, I can't say no, but KFC used to wash down the side wall outside of the place. But you got many, many businesses in town. Well, I mean, TC will clean the whole block. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I prefer not.
Clean the whole block. You don't tell me that all of these businesses could do some cleaning during the day if they find, because in the morning the people go out and clean. If you find by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, get a dustpan thing and do some cleaning in front of your place. We need to have some personal pride, national pride, so we don't always have to wait for somebody. And sometimes while we're complaining, some of us have the capacity and the facilities to do some cleanup too. You don't think so?
Yes, because I know there's some places, I could reference Dominica, for example. There's a specific day, I don't remember the day, but it's something like a National Pride Day, where they basically, the government says, hey, you guys are going to clean up your community. If you have to weed, we're going to give you the assistance, the resources, and then you're going to just clean your community. I know that's what happens over in Dominica. I don't remember the name of the actual day, but yeah.
And I'm telling you, look, all it needs is some civic pride, Sometimes I hear people talking, look, I live in Newtown, right? I have this big drain down there. And whenever you get a lot of heavy rain, it floods. Why it flood? Because it's full of silt and garbage. Now, my good friend Africa who called in a while ago about this story, he was responsible on the Unity for getting some of the young men in the area periodically to clean the drains, which would reduce the flooding in the Newtown area. Well, I suppose government gone. You understand what I'm saying? We have all of these young men who want something to do. And they were on the program, so you didn't have to pay them extra. So apart from the young men, I am saying again, if you live in a village and the roads need cleaning, do some. I live in a street. The young men in my area are cleaning drain, A lady was used to be paid to come. I asked them this week. The lady don't come now. Nobody come. So part of the drain clean, and then the other half dirty. Then it goes down into the thing, and then it block up the drain. So I am saying, if we're really serious about the cleaning, I am calling upon the communities to organize yourself. Organize yourself to do some of the cleaning, some of the cutting of the trees, and the taxi men. When the boat in, so you could do some beach cleaning too, because it is your business. And if you find that the trees them going over the road, get a machete and go and cut them down. That's what I have to say.
All right, thanks. Well, there you had it. Okay, we're just going to squeeze in one last call before we wrap the program. Okay, caller, go ahead. I'll give you a minute.
Yes. Greetings, Brother Abel.
Greetings.
Yeah, this is Rascalonji here. We're talking about all this civic pride and, talking about what we should do. But what you got to understand is that throughout people are being colonized. The community or the country is not organized on that basis to do this thing because we are divided people. I'm calling for decolonization of our people's mind. Hear what I'm proposing. I'm proposing an atonement because through we being colonized, our people is divided amongst themselves. the different political parties, whether it's PAM, Labour, NRP, CCM in Nevis, or even Unity, what they had before. I'm saying this is the thing that is keeping us apart. That's why we can't get together. So I'm calling, you understand, for an atonement, because we have done wrong to each other. And we're setting out, the African Consciousness Movement have a program, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, for us to move forward. We are saying, if you don't want to atone and unite as a people, because that's what Granny say now, unity is the only solution to this pollution. What Granny say? Buy local. What Granny say? Support your own. What Granny say? Unity is strength. Respect one another and love one another. That's what Granny say. Now, I want to adjust the whole situation in the so-called Middle East, right? Miss Henry is saying that this thing didn't start on October 7th. It started in 1948 when you had the Nakba. They displaced the so-called Israelis or Jews. They have no connection to that part of the world. They come from the Caucasus Mountains in Europe. So I'm saying it's just another project of colonizing people. It's a neo-colonial, is a colonial project, settler colonialism, right? Just like how England come down here, take the native people land and kill all of them. It's the same thing taking place in Palestine. And we got to recognize these things. We cannot start from October 7th. If somebody's occupying your land, you have a right to resist. International law says that. The Palestinian people have a right to resist, and we say long live the Palestinian struggle, because we support the struggle for liberation. You understand? Israel is an apartheid state, and we're back in apartheid, just like what happened in South Africa. We got to wake up, man. What do you think South Africa take the case to the World Court? Because they went through the same thing. These people come here and taking the people land. You have a right to resist. International law state that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying to our people, right here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the only solution to this pollution, what Granny said, is unity. If you don't want to unite with our people, to look out for our people's interests, then you're against us. You have to make a choice. You're either with us or you're against us. We got to come on one page. You understand? Everybody else now, look what happening in Palestine.
Caller?
The United States is complicit in this genocide.
Yeah, caller.
We're not talking about it.
Caller, yeah, I understand that. 30 seconds, because I'm really over time and my producer said it.
Summing up, all I'm saying here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, as African people, the only solution to this pollution is African unity. If you don't want to unite, you're against us. Give thanks, one love.
People make the world go round. People make the world go round.
Yes, so that caller was sharing his thoughts on the Israel-Palestine debate that continues surrounding the war over there. We heard from the International Court of Justice yesterday in terms of a preliminary judgment, but they did not necessarily address the full extent of what South Africa was asking for in terms of ceasefire. Yes, that's a talking point in international circles right now. But it was good spending the time with you here today. We focused primarily on the tourism sector as we prepare for the arrival of Icons of the Sea here in St. Kitts and Nevis, the world's largest ship. St. Kitts and Nevis is the first destination that the vessel will stop over with paid passengers. It's taking its inaugural voyage on the 27th, but it's not going to arrive here until the 30th. They're about 30th? Yeah, I think it's the 30th. But yes, so be prepared for that. We're going to have an influx of tourists here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We heard from the minister a bit earlier from an interview that she did with the media that it will be docking at Pier 2. Yes, that's the new pier that was constructed. So, yes. So that was much of what we discussed today. We shared some other thoughts as well. We also heard from Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew as well in terms of the tourism sector, the benefits. He gave some numbers. He was speaking previously on a government program. Yes. not on a government program. But nevertheless, I'm German Abel saying do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe. There are windy conditions out there. And yes, stay safe, enjoy, and we will catch up again next time.